right, so where are we travelling from? Like, what's the situation now?
Your attention has got to be on that moment in time and what's going on around you, because your life depends on it.
Sometimes you can see beauty in the simplest of things. Experiencing that is definitely something that I would urge everybody to do.
Okay, so welcome viewers. Today we've got Glynis Osborne to talk about being present. So that's being in the here and now. So being in actual your experience, not having your mind being somewhere else. So Glynis, how are you today?
I'm good, really good.
Excellent. So for the people who might not have met you, do you just want to give a little bit of a background on what you've been up to?
Yeah, I'm a leadership and management trainer, so we work in lots of different types of industries, kind of developing their business in terms of their strategy, but also looking at where their leadership and management, I suppose, their structure is and what they need to be better at. And I'm also kind of a performance coach and in business and in sport. So I've been doing that for about 10 years now, and previous to that worked in retail for 17 years. So long time.
Excellent. Yes, I've known you for like a long time from some of the courses we did in London. So so let's have a talk about being present. So we want to be talking about being in the here and now. So what's your experience of that?
Well, a lot of times, I suppose I was guilty of it, kind of thinking about when you're doing anything day to day, you often we get in the habit of thinking about what's happened previously, so in our past, and lots of people spend a lot of time there, but also thinking about what's happening in the future. And I suppose sometimes when we think about setting our goals and what we want to achieve, we're always living in the future of what that's going to be like, and that's really good for motivation. But what I find with some of my clients I speak to, and with myself, at the time I was kind of missing out on what was going on here and now, really. And I suppose the time that come to my attention was when I had children. I've got 3 little ones who are 10, 8 and 6. And sometimes I'd find that, because I was busy kind of thinking about work or thinking about what I needed to do in terms of what shopping I needed, or, sometimes just the little things, sometimes you're missing out on what's going on right now. And before you know it, obviously something's happened and you haven't missed it, but you haven't experienced it fully. And a lot of times I have clients who will say they want to spend more time kind of in the here and now. And if I think about kind of sports people who are, top of their game, they want to experience things fully because they want to take the learning from that and think, actually, how can I recreate that in the future? But a lot of times when I ask them the questions, so what worked, what didn't work and things, and they'd be kind of thinking, I don't really know, because they're all thinking about what's it going to be like when I've done this particular piece of performance. And same in business, really, when people are thinking strategically about what's the future, often they find it quite tricky just to think, right, so where are we traveling from? Like, what's the situation now? So I suppose that was the start of it, and kind of, I suppose, my focus on thinking, right, how do we maximize the now? So
I once had an experience that where I was getting on an aeroplane, and I do a lot of visualization for things. And I had been imagining getting on an aeroplane to go somewhere for years and years and years. And then eventually I had that experience and I was getting on the aeroplane. But when I was actually getting on the aeroplane, I was thinking about what I was going to be doing at the airport at the far end. Is that what we mean?
Yeah, right? Definitely. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because we'll think about something in the future, and that's great, especially if we're trying to prepare ourselves for that particular event. But when we do the event or we do it, we're not kind of, I suppose, thinking about how is this different to how I imagined? Is it the same? Is it better than I thought? All of those things. So I think, it's we're always kind of, I suppose, trained to think one step ahead. But I think sometimes it's one of the first times I really, I suppose, got it was I used to do loads of driving. And I remember always sitting in the car planning my day, which I thought was really good, when you're traveling to work. Then I would come home, I'd be thinking about, what's going to happen tomorrow. And that was like my download, which I found useful. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, choose the times. But I remember one day traveling to work And I suppose it was the start of this. So I was practicing, because it does take practice. I remember driving along thinking, I haven't even, like, I drive this road probably 3 or 4 times a week, and I haven't even really seen what there is around. And I remember looking around and thinking, the sky looks amazing, and I mean, there's some beautiful parts of the countryside where motorways go through, and I was thinking, look at this, I've missed out on all of this every time, and all I'm thinking is getting to the office and sitting there and having conversations with people, when actually I could experience some of this. And I suppose it's also good for kind of our mental well-being, isn't it, in terms of appreciating what we have here and now. And I think we saw that quite a lot during kind of lockdown and things, people appreciating getting out and about and doing things. So yeah, I think that is definitely.
So do you think that people need to be trained in how to do this?
I suppose
because I've found sometimes people need a bit of assistance in getting back into the now.
Definitely, because we've trained ourselves to think about what's happened or what's going to happen rather than now. And I think it does take practice, like I said. So
how do you do it?
How do I do it?
Let's make it easy for people. How do we do it?
I suppose the first step, is just sometimes sitting and thinking, right, let's just take a minute and think about what I notice. A really good question to ask yourself is, what do I notice? And kind of thinking about what visual things, what can I hear, what can I feel, what can I taste and smell, and thinking about that environment. And sometimes, I would think, I wonder what other people are noticing at this time. So like I said about the children,
that's interesting.
Thinking, I wonder what they're noticing. And just obviously I don't know because I'm not having their experience, but sometimes they look, when children are little and they look at something and it's just with amazement. And it's sometimes the most boring thing, like a piece of fruit or something, and they're looking at it like, wow, like, how do we get that? So doing a bit of that, but then also, I suppose, when it comes to kind of in a work environment or something, thinking about, if I'm going to be in the moment right now, it might not just be in the moment, just you might be in the moment with somebody else. How am I going to fully pay attention to this person? And something like that, look at them. Listen, soak in everything that they're giving you in terms of, what they're telling you, how they're telling you, facial expressions, the environment, all of those things. And I suppose the first step is just to try it a few times. The next bit that I found really useful was to kind of do myself a bit of a timetable in terms of, okay, my thinking time and my present time, where do I need to be? So I would find it where, I would say, I don't know, if I'm at work, I start work at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I'm going to be present at work, whatever I'm doing at that time. And there is times when things are going on at home that sometimes do creep in. But I thought, I work with lots of different clients. And I think for me to be present, I found a real difference in the way that they reacted to that. So lots of my businesses think they're the only business I ever work with.
Oh, cool.
Which has its pros and cons. But at that moment, it's kind of that I'm giving this time only to this situation or this particular conversation.
So you're not checking your mobile phone at this point?
Nothing.
When they're talking to you and checking your watch and things.
In that moment. But sometimes you have to do that in terms of, like I said there, putting yourself a bit of a timetable together. It's not strict kind of from the minute I get up in the morning till the minute I go to bed. But there's times where I'm thinking, right, this time, so pick up time from school, for instance, with the kids, or if I'm cooking, because I quite like to cook, I'm there and I'm in the moment, and it might only be 20 minutes, half an hour, but I'm fully experiencing that. And at first it is tricky, so you sometimes catch yourself while you're doing something thinking, I remember to put that on the shopping list, or I need to do this, or hang on, I need to phone so and so back. And sometimes check and thinking, does that need my attention now or not? But yeah, I have a bit of a timetable in terms of my thinking, which has really helped, definitely. So first thing, give it a go. Next bit, be more disciplined around your thinking time and being present and experiencing those moments.
Okay, excellent. So one thing that I found was getting on the aeroplane, I touched the surroundings, like, like the bar, like the handrail on the air ramp and things like that. I like touch it and get into the here and now. Yeah. Like, and it's as simple as that for me. Just like, it's just remember, this is reality.
Where you are.
Like, what just get out of your head. So
But
excellent.
sometimes, like I find really useful to just, I don't know, put my feet on the floor. Sometimes, just maybe stamp my feet and think, I'm here at this moment, what's happening? And like I say, I ask myself those questions, like, what do you notice? What's happening at the moment? And and then that brings me back to the here and now. One thing I suppose that it's really taught me doing that is I've started to experience things fully, so then I suppose I can evaluate them better, and I kind of, now I understand what I really enjoy doing versus things that I was doing. And there's always going to be things you have to do that you don't particularly like. I hate doing paperwork, for instance. But when I'm doing it, I'm more focused in it, so it doesn't take as long. And when I'm working with clients and things, and I'm asking them, what difference does this make? That focus piece is really good, because you've got that time to just think about this one thing. Because often people say they're overwhelmed by work or whatever, and it's often because there's loads of things all going on at the same time, and they're trying to, it's like spinning plates, isn't it? There's only so many spin before they start falling down. And it's that, but if you're just focusing on that one plate, then it seems easier at any particular time. So
I don't know where I heard it, but I was teaching a mindfulness course, because this links up with mindfulness. It's all pretty much the same, different dress, same thing. Yeah. But someone either told me this or I heard it somewhere, and they were basically saying, if you're rock climbing and you are hanging on the side of a rock face, all your attention is in that present moment, because it can't be anywhere else. I've heard the same from people riding motorbikes. If you're riding a motorbike extremely quick, then your attention has got to be on that moment in time and what's going on around you, because your life depends on it. Yeah. So I suppose you could put it down to importance, isn't it?
Definitely, and I suppose it's that thing of thinking about what is important. And I suppose, like I said, you're always going to have challenges because you've got things going on in your head, especially if you've got a lot on at any particular time, and thoughts do get mixed up sometimes. But sometimes just being in the moment, like my children knowing that I'm present at any particular time, when they want to tell me something that's important to them, that's important to me. If I'm doing a coaching session with somebody and we've had a couple of sessions and this is the moment that they want to share something that's really quite deep for them, or quite personal or emotional, I don't want to be thinking about something else. I want to be taking in all that information. And I think for me the important piece is that interaction with people, so that I suppose, I'm not saying they're important, but I'm showing them that what they have to say or what they're doing is important. And also the experience of life. Life is short. We want to experience it fully, but you could be on a gorgeous beach that you've dreamt of forever, and you're lying there thinking, oh, where we're going to eat tonight, and you're not taking in, actually, look where you are. And I think some of them pinch me moments, I think like I said there, sometimes you're forced to pay attention, especially when something at that moment, if your life depends on it, you do pay attention. But I think the other things, the experience of life is just as important sometimes.
So when you're out for a walk, you're actually noticing what's surrounding you.
Yeah, right. And I suppose you have to pay attention to what's going on to keep yourself safe. But sometimes you can see beauty in the simplest of things, or and experiencing that is definitely something that I would urge everybody to do. I think a lot of times my clients will say, if I get them, encourage them to do this, they often have some kind of, I suppose, breakthroughs in terms of they don't feel as stressed because they're just tackling one thing at a time. Like I said, they're more focused. They're able to, I suppose, get things done more efficiently. Those types of things. They can take learning from one situation and think, how do I change that for the next time to either have more joy or more good feeling, or actually, I'm going to not do that because that doesn't make me feel good. So I think there's all of those things that we can do. I think one time I went on went on a course where you kind of go into the woods and you have time on your own. And I remember sitting there, and the question, we said, go and ask yourself a question and just sit with nature. And I remember thinking, I like nature, but let's see what happens here. And I thought, I'm going to use me what do I notice question. And I sat down, I was thinking, what do I notice? And even though I'd walked through those woods like hundreds of times before, because they're right beside where I've grown up, probably seen every tree in that wood probably grow, but I remember thinking, I can hear different things to what I never thought before. I'm experiencing just the feel of the air against my skin and all of those things that I possibly wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't just took that 5 or 10 minutes out. So
what do you think that does to your experience of time? Do you think it speeds it up or slows it down?
I think a bit of both. Sometimes it can just, but I think everything has that, when they say time flies when you're having fun. I think there's times where you can be sitting for 5 minutes having those experiences and you're thinking, am I done yet? But then there's other times where you think, God, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes and it feels like a flash. So I think a bit of both, but definitely, I suppose I'm trying to think, I wouldn't say that if you're more in the present, I don't know whether you ever experience time fully the way that it's supposed to be, if that is even a thing. But I think it always slows
strange
down.
concept, time, is it not?
It is definitely. And I think, but I think if you fully experience that, then you'll know, I suppose, when it's speeded up or when it's slowed down. But I'm not really sure, unless you don't like something. I'm thinking,
interesting question.
It is an interesting question. Is this over yet? But yeah, I think it's something that we all should practice, and I've definitely got loads of benefit from it. Especially, I suppose, people around me, I haven't talked about it in terms of this is what I do, but I feel they experience it. So if I'm fully in the moment with somebody, then I just get that feeling that they understand that they're really valued. Like you say, I'm not checking my phone, I'm not checking my watch, I'm just here now. And it might not be for long, maybe for 2 or 3 minutes, but that 2 or 3 minutes of good quality kind of connection with somebody, or connecting with whatever it is that I'm doing. So yeah, try and be in the present.
Excellent. So you got any more, can we take this into anything else with people? So you've got your work, you've got like home life. Is there anything else where it's really useful, where you can use this?
I suppose in things like, where you want to experience something that potentially is a little bit dangerous, like you're driving and, doing things like exercise that you particularly, like running or anything like that. I think to experience that, because if, say, for instance, I'm thinking, if obviously it's the time of year now where people want to try and get fitter or lose weight or whatever it is that they're doing. And I think we're always thinking about the end goal, which then, because the end goal is sometimes quite far away, we don't take stock of what progress have I made since yesterday or since this morning. Like, actually, I said no to them 2 biscuits. That's progress. I'm here, and I should give myself that praise for this moment. So I suppose all of those types of things, like noticing progress, noticing things that are going well, or noticing things that are not going well, and thinking about, how can this change?
One of the biggest things I've found like that is that people aren't noticing what's working. They've got all their attention on what's going wrong. And that's only 5% of that. In general, people are like focused on that 5%, and the 95% they're completely unaware of, because their attention's pretty much in the wrong place. Do you agree with that?
And I think my husband made a good analogy a few years ago, doing the diet thing, and I think I'd put 2 pounds on. It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
He said, honestly, if I had a massive pile of pennies and somebody chucked in 2 pence, I wouldn't notice they were there.
It's true.
And I was like, right. He said, if I give you
the best metaphor.
And one of them was dead, would you notice if I took it out? Like, no. So there they are. Think about where the focus is. And you're right, and it's where that, I suppose it's not only about being present, it's choosing what you're present with and how, what you're thinking about and things. But yeah, definitely thinking about progress and things. I'm trying to think anything else. I suppose if we have thought about things in the future, or I think when we get there, if we do get there,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose purposely being present in those moments. You know, I can imagine, you know, there's lots of times athletes have said, I think Daley Thompson was one of the famous ones when somebody interviewed him, they said, kind of, how was that experience, or what was it like? And he said it was exactly the way I thought it was going to be. But you think, so I hope he fully experienced that still, and took all of the, I suppose, all of the joy out of those moments of achievement. But see, it's in those types of moments, like you say, when you get on the plane, making sure that I've dreamt of this for ages, I'm getting on this plane and I'm going to maximize, like I'm going to look around what the stairs look like, feel my chair, when you notice who I'm sitting beside, look about, see what's going on, just to fully immerse yourself in that experience.
So enjoy what you've been dreaming of.
Yes, exactly. Because often we often don't. I say this a lot in business as well. People, you know, plan to deliver something, they deliver it, and it's like, right, what's the next thing? And they'll move to the next thing, and it's progress. And people are, you know, businesses are doing well, or whatever they decide to do, but they don't stop and think, right, now we've got here, let's just take a moment to soak it in and think, well done. Because that's the thing that gets you through the tough bits, because you look forward to that sense of achievement, and that, you know, this is what I've dreamt of, this we've got here, what's the next thing?
Someone described this to me as when in a football match, when the score of a goal, everybody cheers. Like often, like there's not a chance people don't take it like that 2 minutes to cheer for themselves or whatever. They don't take that because they're on to the next thing. They go, oh, well, we need to be further on and further on and further on. But like, you know, there are the small goals. You've got to actually stop and appreciate the fact that you've moved forward, and you know you've scored a personal goal.
I wonder what it would be like if you went to a football game and no one
didn't bother.
Be like, what's going on here? We do it ourselves all the time. I wonder if they would walk off. Hang on a minute, I've just scored that goal if you didn't. But yeah, but we do that cheering, and I suppose, and be in the moment for that, because that's what I was saying about that motivation piece, especially if you're doing smaller steps. Kind of just take stock, give yourself a bit of praise, and then move to the next thing and do it again, rather than thinking, right, in 5 years' time when I'm whatever, it's too long to keep going. But yeah.
Excellent. Oh, very good. Okay, so that's a brilliant place to wind that up, I think. Yeah. I think what we'll do in the future is we'll have some more of these and have a little series. Do you think that would be a good idea?
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
Hints and tips of, I don't know, working mum.
Okay, very good.
Like
Yes, so thanks very much for that. Good to talk to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Adrian.
No worries.